Go ahead, Mr. Boyda.
Thank you, Jeff. All right. I saw that Sam also joined us. So I'm going to call the meeting to order. We have 4 of the 5 voting members. Can I get an approval of the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Eric, I apologize, I couldn't connect in time. I would like to add an item to the agenda, reviewing of the 421 Hall Road of that potential property acquisition.
I would propose that we add that as item number 9 after the Eagle Creek Tree Nursery.
So I second the motion to accept the agenda with addition of the item number 9.
Are you okay with that, Dick?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, Kathy, can you call out our names since we're all in different places?
Eric Boyda,
Yes.
Dick Cook,
Yes.
Rodney Griego,
Yes.
Samantha Mendez.
Sam, is your microphone still not working?
Tim Dodge, yes.
Oh, Tim is here. Cool.
I got 4 meetings going on right now, so.
Okay, Samantha, if we can't hear you,
Sam, why don't you come into the council chambers? I'll go get him. I think she can hear us, but for some reason her mic hasn't been working.
okay, Sam put in the chat that she votes yes. And she's on her way to the council chambers.
Eric, I got that other, the bi-weekly call that I wanted to sit in on.
Okay.
So is there anything that you need of me at this point?
No, the only thing, we've got 2 voting actions. One is going to be the priority projects for the Grindstone Special Fund, and then the whole property evaluation. Otherwise, the rest is just discussion items.
Okay. So.
Do you need me to move those up?
No, I'm gonna jump out. You know, I'm comfortable with whatever direction you guys take on those.
Okay.
And
okay, thank you, Tim.
okay, I'm gonna jump out of here. I want to go listen to that FEMA call.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Yep.
Hi, Counselor. How you doing?
I'm
Okay.
excellent. It's good to see you, Tim.
Yeah. Take care.
You too.
Hi guys, sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Okay, so we had a last minute send out for the meeting minutes, so I was just going to scroll through them slowly, and if anyone had any comments on it.
What were the last minute additions?
To the agenda?
No, to the minutes.
There wasn't any additions. It just got sent out. We just forgot to send it out with the invite.
I should be replaced.
You're trying to sabotage yourself.
You have to stay, Kathy, and that's your punishment.
No, 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 no. You guys wouldn't know what to do if I did it right. I think I was a clone or something.
Okay, sorry, I kind of paged through that kind of quick, but was everyone okay with the minutes?
Yes,
Can I get a motion to approve?
I motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, Kathy, could you do a roll call for us, please?
Eric Boyda,
Yes.
Dick Cook,
Yes.
Rodney Griego,
Yes,
Samantha Mendez.
Yes.
Okay, so item number 4. We've got the priority watershed projects to utilize the calendar year 2020 Grindstone Special Funds watershed funding. So Rodney, you had estimated last month that it was about $55,000 that we would likely expect. Is that still what we should kind of plan around?
yes, I don't believe there's any change. If anything, there would be a minor increase.
Okay. So last month we just discussed that would be an amount, and for everyone to kind of think about some projects that they'd like to propose. And so if anyone has some projects they'd like to propose, now we can talk about them.
No one's gonna speak up. I have enough to cover the budget.
My proposal is that we hold on to the 55,000 and implement erosion issue control once we get the plan done.
I would support that.
What, I guess I'm not familiar with, what is the erosion issue that you're talking about?
So there's some draws that are on the north side of the reservoir that have a lot of increasing erosion off of the that subdivision, and so looking to rectify that. And you also had mentioned that logging trail up there is starting to wash away.
Yes.
So that, and then also things around like the road cuts and other things that have been causing some kind of substantial erosion. And then I know that the plan is likely going to propose putting in a small berm to direct another drainage into that kind of like pond that's on the southwest corner of the reservoir, where there's that walking path and the built-up berm.
What kind of, just a small berm to cut the water off and stop the erosion?
Yeah. So I just don't know what exactly the total projects are going to cost, and it's all coming out in that master planning document. But right now, that project is on a temporary standby until we get the results of the survey, the mailed out survey.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to make a pitch for that lower area of that golf course. It's got a lot of juniper spouts and small trees that need some attention. That I'd like to see that up there if there's money for it.
Do you know how many acres that is?
I haven't looked at it right off the top of my head, but I've got it somewhere on my computer from the last time we did it.
I think that'd be good because, we did that. You got the treatments for that test area at $300 per acre, and I think, Rodney, do you remember what it was for us? It was like $270 or something per acre.
I have a bad memory.
Anyways, I think it'd be really easy to squeeze that in.
Now I went up this last week and looked at the spraying we did, and I still can't see any sprouting coming out from the bases of those trees that were treated, either the ones the village treated or the ones we contracted. We probably won't know for sure till the next growing season, but right now it's looking pretty good.
Okay. Sam, do you have any thoughts?
No, and they all have to be tied to the watershed?
They just have to be tied to watershed health in general. We were kind of focusing on Grindstone just to get problems there rectified, and then we can start taking it elsewhere.
Yeah, I kind of like your idea of Dick's idea. It doesn't sound like it'll be too costly to do the area on the golf course he's talking about.
Is that the only area that you need to do, Dick, or do you want to propose another spot?
I think several of these spots that are on the list from Rodney, the new acquisition up by Dollar General has got a lot of resprouts there that are probably going to have to be treated if it's something we decide to do. And nearly all the ones except what we've recently treated have got juniper resprouts that need to be treated. So there's not a shortage of places to treat juniper resprouts.
Okay. So maybe we could just propose like up to a certain dollar amount to allocate to resprouting, and we can see how far it goes.
That would be fine. I don't know. We don't have to be in too big a hurry on it, but if that's what we want to look at by our next meeting, I can get some acreages and some of the maybe a better treatment and review the cost. I was thinking that the cost for us doing it was more than what we got it contracted for. And my contractor says if he had to do it again, he'd bid it a little higher than what he said. So I think you're looking probably maybe $400 an acre either way to do that. But if we want to get a better idea for our next meeting, I'll be glad to look into that.
Could we just allocate a dollar amount and then you, Dick, use it where you see it best fits?
We can do that if that's what you'd like to do.
Because I was wondering if maybe we could do a $35,000 for erosion control at Grindstone and then $20,000 for resprout herbicide.
That was the same number as I was thinking of. Okay. You want to just make a motion?
It must be karma if both of you are thinking the same number.
I know,
So
right?
Okay, I mean, is everyone generally okay with that? I think that would be a good start for both of those.
yeah, that's good for me.
We got to keep it away from Rodney's pockets.
No, I support that
I know.
idea as well.
Okay, so our two priority projects then are erosion control and control of respouts throughout village properties. So if I could get a motion.
I so move.
I second.
Okay, Kathy, can I get a roll call, please?
Aaron Boyda,
Yes.
Dick Cook,
Yes.
Rodney Griego,
Yes.
Samantha Mendez.
Yes.
Okay, I will send out a FYI to the governing body and say that that's our priority projects. Okay, item number 5 is updates on the U.S. Forest Service NRCS Joint Chiefs grant application. So I saw just right before the meeting that Bo Truitt with the Forest Service sent out the grant application that got sent to Washington, but the Forest Service is proposing a mix of projects in the area, and 2 of them are directly on Village of Ruidoso property, and then another one is impacting our well field. So they're proposing to work with us on the watershed improvement component of the forest thinning watershed state appropriation that Dick has for the ball field. So they're gonna work with us to put in some stream structures and restore some of the integrity of Eagle Creek here on village property. And then as you go up Ski Run Road, and then there's Manju Lookout Road, there's a canyon called Phillips Canyon, and it goes across village property and then onto Forest Service. So they were going to look at doing some beaver dam analog structures to check back water and encourage infiltration and restoration of the riparian area. And so that would spread from Forest Service to village property. And then they're proposing on the North Fork well field on Eagle Creek to fence off an area and do restoration of riparian plants. So they were gonna put up a large elk fence and then put in some willows and cottonwoods along Eagle Creek on Forest Service land. So we'll see if that project gets funded. I think they focused a lot of the forest thinning dollars elsewhere, Dick, unless you're aware of something else.
No, a lot of what we submitted, we were gonna do, and they were using it for whatever their matching component was that we've already got planned.
Okay. So we'll cross our fingers. I think it'd be a really good project to help us do some kind of start that process of multi-jurisdictional projects at a landscape scale. So the project partners that were involved in there were, the Forest Service and NRCS and BLM, the Mescalero tribe, and I believe there was the trout federation, and some other parties. So hopefully this will help us park and do some more landscape level improvement projects. Any questions about that?
No.
No.
Okay. So our next item then is number 6. Is the dollar store property thinning treatment, which we kind of talked a little bit about.
Right. I just was, I didn't know if that was on everyone's radar, and I would just like to look at doing some work on that property sooner rather than later. Was hoping that Dick would be able to evaluate it, and from my perspective, I see the juniper treatments as well, and if we pay for that, a contractor to do that, or try to tackle that internally with village staff, I would like to see that project get done soon.
So Dick, that property is already meeting the forestry compliance. It's just we need to go back and treat the juniper resprouts.
I sent Cass up there to look at that just a couple of days ago, and he said it's going to be a little bit more than that. I'm not sure exactly how much, but it's probably not going to be a really expensive project. And if we tag that, we could probably use some of that watershed money for that, or we can look at it. And I've got some more money for right-of-way thinning and other kinds of thinning. So if that's something that we'd like to do, I'll take a good look at it and see if we can fund it.
So-
Just one question for Rodney. Rodney, what is the kind of a long-term use of that? Are we gonna put a ball field there or something so it really needs to have most of the trees gone, or what's the deal on that?
I would say there's just so many things going on that it's really ultimately hard to say. That's how I pitched it from the recreation standpoint, that it could be used for that. But I don't think we're there at this point that we want to thin it for that purpose yet. But I just think that we ought to just get it in compliance, just because it's a highly visible piece of property. And again, since we acquired it, I think we should put it as a priority since it's right along the road.
My main concern is just, I'd hate for us to end out cutting down some additional big trees, and then when you actually lay out the ball fields, then that tree could have stayed around and had a mature tree in your new park area, and who knows when that's going to be built, but
Right.
I don't know.
So we'll go ahead and take a look at it just for our normal get in compliance thing and see what funding we got available that we might be able to get it done with. We've still got this last contract. I'm kind of jumping ahead, but this last contract for that ballpark thinning out there was the first 30 acres went for 32,000 and change. And so we still have somewhere in the neighborhood of 40,000 in that first $176,000 grant. And this next council meeting there, I think it's a consent item for 110,000. So we've got about 150,000 in that watershed forestry grant that we can take a look at projects with.
Sounds good.
Okay, so Dick is going to look at the dollar store property and give his evaluation of it, and then we'll move from there based on estimated costs. Any updates that you want to do, Rodney, on the next item, number 7, the juniper treatments?
So on Alto Lake, it's been about a month now since I walked it last. The juniper treatments that the parks staff completed, I think it's been about a year ago. I was noticing some regrowth on those suckers that are growing. And so I just wanted to update y'all about that and mention that we should retreat those while there's very little growth. And I would say it appeared to me, I mean, I didn't do any official calculations, but it looks like maybe like a quarter of those sprouts that were treated or have new growth. So I would like that to be added as a retreatment. And then of course I already went over to the dollar store. And then I was just gonna talk about the treatments, and again at Rhinestone Lake, and Dick already mentioned that what village staff had done. It looks good to me as well, just from doing a drive-by. I haven't got down and walked it, but it looks like it had pretty good results from that treatment. And then the fourth item number D, Gablin Cemetery. That property, which was thinned years ago, is beginning to have the juniper resprouts that are like around 3 foot, maybe a little bit less. And I think it would be, at least in my interpretation, good timing to address those in the near future as well.
We can go spray your new ponderosa pines you planted out there.
So again, I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of those and see if we can add about, or at least consider putting them on to be treated in the next year.
Okay, I'll take a look at all those things to see about that money that we're talking about for the spraying. And the Gavilan Cemetery, we've had a bunch of trees dying there since that was treated, and that's of course the reason they planted those pine trees back in there. But I haven't really looked at the hillsides back in where the junipers were, so I'll take a look at that too.
Yeah, I don't think it's real bad, Dick. It's not like some of those other areas, but I mean, and again, I'm just, those are my observations. It's just what, I mean, I don't know if you retreat all of those or you allow any of them to grow back, but there are some that are growing back.
Okay, I'll take a look at we're not juniper murderers, but it is probably the biggest problem we have with fuels coming back in after we thinned it. The longer we can hold those out, the less maintenance costs there are as far as keeping it in compliance.
Okay. So item number 8, Rodney, is yours, Eagle Creek Tree Nursery.
So I believe everyone's aware of the projects that Dick is working on the thinning on the south side of the Eagle Creek Sports Complex. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So we in talking with Mr. Dorgan and possibly the village utilizing some of those trees, we were looking at maybe potentially having a nursery of a few different types of trees that could be harvested out of that area. I know, again, Mr. Dorgan would like to save some of them to relocate out in the park at the Eagle Creek Sports Complex. And then there may be some opportunities for us to do the same. I'm sure that Mr. Dorgan had purchased a tree spade. Looks like a pretty decent sized spade that you could get anywhere from like 10 foot and under sized trees. And again, so he has all the equipment, and I haven't requested it, but I'm sure that he would work with us to harvest some of those trees. So I just wanted to hear your all's thoughts and kind of look into the possibility of doing something like that.
I guess from my perspective, as many trees as we're cutting and as much maintenance we have, I think we need to be careful, because from a natural state, openings are good. And so I would like not to see us get into trying to put trees on every acre we have when we have a nice natural opening, because you get more edge effect for wildlife habitat and bird habitat and those kind of things. So I would hate to see us try to put trees on every acre we got. And but there are some nice trees there. The problem being that if we're going to harvest any of those trees, we need to make a decision and start doing it, because by this time next year, that whole area will be thin, and all those smaller trees are going to be ground up in the mulch. So if we're going to do something, we need to do it within the next year for sure.
Are you, Roddy, you're just basically saying utilizing our properties to harvest smaller diameter trees to transplant. You're not talking about like having a clear spot there and then like purposely planting different tree species and letting them mature a little bit and transporting them out of there.
Yeah, right. I would be more along the lines of harvesting them and utilizing them. And we may, I mean, I somewhat would like to identify some of those quality or good looking trees that maybe we do relocate on the spot there um, for future use, because I understand the timeline with Dick and having that, performing that work, but at the same time, Mr. Dorgan will be, well, there's some proposals out there for him to expand his operations. And if that were to happen, there would be some change in the layout of that property, which you could incorporate some of those trees that were set aside or designated to be harvested and replanted.
Yeah, Tom has actually got some trees up there around his shop that he's tagged with pink and black flagging that he'd like to save, and we're okay with that. We agreed with him that we wouldn't cut those trees when we come through there as long as he gets them out in a relatively short period of time. And I think these are the ones that he's talking about maybe putting out around the ball fields and those kind of things.
Right. And I'm just curious, Eric, do you see, or what are your thoughts about harvesting or trying to utilize some of those trees?
I think it'd be fine. I think it would be nice though when you take a tree from an area to mark it and come back in the following years, because you're probably going to get some weeds and stuff that will grow up in that highly disturbed area.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it seems reasonable. I just don't know how well those spades work in the rocky soil that you're going to find up there.
Right.
So it'll be interesting how the first few work out.
There's a lot of those soils up there, like where we built that road, that actually there's enough depth in that dirt up there that I think that you could probably dig some trees without too much trouble.
Okay, like in that flat area, the bench up there.
Yeah, that's where most of them would probably come out of.
I think it seems fine if you're gonna try it.
Okay. What I'll do is it sounds like Tom has already visited with Dick about that, and I'll continue to work with Dick and Tom about any additional trees that we would like to save.
Might be a good approach too when we start looking at the Grindstone master plan, if there's any type of screening or anything around the edges of the parking lots to see if we could utilize those.
I think
Might not be very easy to transplant them on any type of slope though. Okay, so the 9th item then is the whole property. I got printed off. All right, put your maps up here, Rodney, if you wanted to kind of just describe what's going on.
So the property, 421 Hull Road, is directly south of the White Mountain Recreation Complex. When you look at it on the map, it looks like 2 parcels, but when you bring it up, it's a one, like roughly 9.5 acre tract. From the information that I heard, how I was involved in this project is the owner would be willing to sell to the village. I think they're looking at it from a not strictly making a huge profit off of it. They're looking at it being beneficial to the village. The benefits, I mean, that I could see are not necessarily based around the existing use with homes and horse pens, but what I can see is the use is additional recreation space, whether that be ball fields, open space, or even some like wetland improvements that we've been wanting to see in that area. From what I understand, what they're looking to get for it, I think the value is, and that's considering with the homes. I think it's an incredible value from what I've heard, and I think it would be a huge benefit for the village.
Whenever we look at these properties, do we do anything like a cost evaluation as far as proposed uses and how long it'll take to reclaim our debt and some of those kind of things, or do we just get it and then figure out later what to do with it?
So the way I understand that the evaluation has gone is between Eric, you and I, we've been tasked with evaluating them in the roles pertaining to our department, and then we just pass those along to the manager and the governing body, and it's up to them to make that decision. Right now, I feel that they're in a financial shape that it seems that they're making these purchases that would benefit the village. I don't think they're interested in buying everything out there, but strategic purchases that would benefit the village overall, especially regarding open space, recreation, and not putting a huge financial burden on the village of having to get them into any kind of compliance, that they're willing to consider them. I'm not sure that they're necessarily considering them for, generating revenue to replace their initial cost to purchase, but for the overall benefit of the village. I don't know if that answers your question, but I just don't think that's not information that we've been tasked with.
Yeah, I guess I was just kind of curious because even though it might be a good deal, it's still $100,000 an acre, which is probably not too much for the slope and stuff it's got. As far as ball fields and those kind, it looks like to me it's got to take a lot of dirt work in, because there's quite a bit of slope to a lot of that property. So I'll go ahead and give the report. It's actually incompliant until 2024, and at the time that we are we still here?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, Dick, I was just pulling up your checklist.
Okay, and whenever we do go back in there, it's going to be kind of minor because it's just going to be some pruning on some of the lower limbs, some of the trees, because of spacing. There's not that many trees on it, and so it should be fairly minor from our perspective.
Okay. So then, looking at the drainage issues, sent you guys a little hand drawing. Let's see if I put it up. Sorry, I didn't have time to pop up GIS and make a fancy one. But so when I analyze it, there's some minor drainage this way that doesn't get up. It's just sheet flows coming this way. And there's some very minor slope drainages coming between these houses. And then this is the one to be more concerned about. So this is where Hall comes, and then it drains this way through this culvert. So in terms of development, we just want to be cautious of developing this area without making sure that the drainage has good continuity and a good place to go. And then I think that this lower, or this south or northeastern grazing paddock seemed like it could have some potential for some stormwater detention. So I didn't find any complicating issues with the property from a watershed perspective.
So, refresh my memory, Eric, because I have a bad memory. How did we approach the last one? Did we?
So I think we can just probably make a motion to say that there's no, how did we phrase that?
Yeah.
It's basically that there's no impacts or no major impacts to watershed resources.
Yeah, we could word it like, no major resource issues as far as the acquisition.
Okay, Dick, you want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion that, our recommendation is that there is no major resource issues on this piece of property. And some, potential for a little drainage work.
Okay, can I get a second?
I second.
Okay, Kathy, can you do a roll call, please?
Hold on. All right. Eric Boyda,
Yes.
Dick Cook,
Yes,
Rodney Griego,
Yes.
Samantha Mendez.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Rodney, for getting all those maps to us. Okay, the last item that we have is just a projects round robin. If anyone has any updates on their various things that are going on, we'll start with you, Samantha. Nothing really.
So much going on, but nothing that it pertains to watershed, so pass.
That's okay. Okay, Dick.
we've already gone most of the things we're working on. We're still working on we haven't got the approval for the money for the 30-acre thinning out there, and that's the project that we're focused on right now. We're gonna be working on the other end of that 90-acre as our next project. And the 25-acre project that's across the road is by now probably 70% through. It should be through in a couple of weeks.
He said he should be done next week.
Next week?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's kind of where we are on our projects.
Okay, Rodney. How's your beach going?
The beach is going pretty good. They started on Monday of this week with the excavation. The information that I gathered is by the end of the day tomorrow, or the end of the day today, that they would be roughly about 40% complete with the excavation, with an expected completion date of the excavation of the middle to late next week. The second request for bids, I believe is the due date is tomorrow. And so we'll be anxiously waiting the numbers that come back from that. And then the plan is to utilize the information that comes out of that is to request the funds from the village during the next week's council meeting. So once if we secure the funding to purchase all the materials, then we'll work on that next phase of installing the border and all of the fill materials, the gravel, the fabric layer, and then the sand. And at this time, I don't see anything that would keep us from being completed at, initially how we initially planned, like around the 1st of November.
Well, and it's looking like I'm not going to be able to take a lot of water this fall if we keep not having any precipitations. Might have had some time in November to keep working on it.
Yeah, that's good and bad.
It's It's gonna be bad for you next year when your new beach is just floating in the air or out of the water.
They'll still enjoy it.
Yeah.
And we can make a practice sand trap out of it. For the
Yeah.
golf.
Yeah, there you go. Did you want to share about your boat ramp thing, the mats?
Yeah. So you all may or may not be aware that due to the water level or the water level receding, that every time there's new ground that is that's not covered in water, that area is muddy for quite some time. And because the water level has been receding for a while, it's been this way for several weeks. And so I've received a lot of requests from the public to address that. And there's not really anything, that we can do immediately that's a simple solution, or I had a hard time coming up with something for a simple solution. I've had expressed to the public that we're aware of the issue, that the plans are that would be another item that would be addressed in the Grindstone Master Plan. And then as the results of that plan, it would give us some recommended projects with some cost estimates. Well, the public isn't very happy with wanting to wait on things to, go through their course. So, I've had some people in the public request that they would like to fundraise. And so because I was, hearing their desperation of wanting to use that boat ramp because it's become very popular, I called one of the companies that we've been dealing with some of our docks and see if they have seen similar issues, and which they explained to me they had. Quite often when they are installing docks, they run into that very thing of the shoreline being really muddy. And so what they said, how they approach those is they have these construction mats that you can place directly on top of the mud, and it provides the vehicles and heavy equipment. They're used quite often in construction sites with different various types of heavy equipment. It allows that equipment to drive over the mud and still be able to get down to the water's edge to launch their boats. And so the mats are relatively inexpensive, roughly for about a 4x8 mat. They are around $250. I think we can afford that cost out of our operating budget. And what I would be looking at doing is providing or putting those mats down to create a footprint that's roughly about 8 foot wide and 24 foot long that extends out into the water. That way, as they back their boat up or as the water continues to recede, that they'll still have a stable and firm surface available. And so I requested that Eric look into applying for a permit in order to have this done. And so we're waiting to hear back to see if this is something that's possible.
I did talk to Reed Riley with the Army Corps, and he said that he thinks it will go through pretty easy. But I think he's going to come up for next week and do a site survey quick. So he seemed like it shouldn't be an issue. Hopefully we'll get it late next week.
That sounds good.
I've got one question, Rodney. With the receding like that, there were some areas around the lake where the lake actually covered some trees, and there are dead trees now in the lake. Is that something that we need to look at as removing those trees, or you only leave them for fish habitat, or what you're thinking on it?
I would be open to your all's suggestions. I'm pretty easygoing in either way. I would be I would be happy with.
I would leave them. I kind of like the idea of having some fish structure in there.
Yeah, I'm fine with that because I mean, I agree that with the fish structure and the areas where they have where they do cause issues, we have taken care of them. We had one in kind of in that beach area that was a dead elm tree that was there. That one's been removed. And then as we see, and this has nothing to do with the standing trees, but we try to stay on top of removing the logs that either get rolled into the lake and they make their way over to the to near the water diversion. But yeah, I'm satisfied with the way they are, unless someone has one or any that are in that they recommend because they're causing additional issues.
And I guess the other part of that is, if that's something that's desirable, when we do thinning and some of those kind of things close to the lake, is that something that we'd want to consider, is actually sinking some fish structure in the lake, or is that something we want to stay away from?
I think it's a reasonable thing, but I think we should talk to Randy Kane and get some confirmation with the Dam Safety Bureau, because they sometimes get weird about stuff like that.
Just a thought when we was talking about trees and fish structure.
No, I've often thought about that, especially in that area where the Wibbit was. But before we were doing that, I was like, it seems like a good spot to throw some structure in. Okay, is that everything, Rodney?
Yes.
My biggest update is just that Ashley and I have been going out and we've done our annual surveys for the Army Corps permits that require annual monitoring. And so we'll be submitting those reports here towards the end of October. But I did have a question for you, Rodney. Do you remember what your Two Rivers park improvements, what nation was, and does it require annual monitoring? Are you there, Rodney?
I don't see him on the call anymore.
Yes.
Oh, you're there.
I had a bunch of items open up on my phone, so I was trying to close them. But anyways, it was, I believe, that project behind the chamber, and I believe that is also part of, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't that Sean Knox's, or am I getting it confused with that previous project?
Well, it was Sean Knox, but I just, because a lot of these surveys are like incredibly easy to do, and then those companies charge us like $3,000 to do something that takes like a day of work.
Yeah.
And so I guess we just need to find the Army Corps permit that was authorized under and see if there's a monitoring requirement. Because the ones that Ashley and I surveyed, we surveyed the area below Alto Reservoir. I did Main Road Bridge 1, the fish habitat structures there, and then I did the Grindstone Canyon wetlands. So the only ones that require the monitoring is when you do natural restoration. And so that's why out of the projects that we're doing, the Two Rivers is probably the only other one that might have a monitoring requirement. And I kind of got this gut feeling that you and I had already discussed this and we determined that there wasn't, and I just forgot about it and didn't document it well enough.
Yeah, I'll have to look into it. I'll pull up that permit and then I'll let you know what I find.
Because it would be nice to get the survey before all the leaves fall off of the willows and everything dies. It's a little hard to do it in the fall.
Okay.
Eric, I had a question. Over there in Resort Drive with Jesse Townsend, did he get everything straightened out with the Army Corps, or is that still an open case? Do you know?
From my understanding, is that Jesse is contracting with a river restoration specialist and is going to be restoring the creek there.
Oh, okay. Because he has a application in for the November Planning Commission meeting to develop, and so I wanted to see if he was following through with the other.
That is what the Army Corps told me, but that's the extent that I've understood about it.
Okay.
Okay, that is everything. Yes.
I have one more item that for round robin that I forgot about, but the application that we made for the airport thinning wasn't one of the ones selected, so we'll have to reapply for that next year.
To survey
Okay.
those cactus?
I beg your pardon?
Was the grant to conduct that survey, or what was it for?
The source, it was from the State Association of Counties that we went through state forestry. It's actual federal funding that comes through state forestry. And they were $300,000 grants. And they had enough money to go through about 3 grants, but we didn't. In their scoring criteria they had, ours wasn't one of the ones that were selected, so we'll just have to reapply next year.
Okay, thank you for the update on that. We'll have to, you probably know about all the grants, but if I ever see one that will work for forest thinning, I will make sure to share that with you.
Okay, well, we have the hazard mitigation grants that Joe was kind of taking care of, and that may be a source of grants for several of us that I don't know that we've applied for many of them, but we may want to get with Joe and find out what's available through that hazard mitigation plan that we did.
Sure, especially with the proximity to the airport. You think that that would be a high profile area?
Yeah.
All right, this is your last call. Everyone's good? Susan, do you have anything to say? Ashley?
I don't, Eric. Thanks for all the hard work. Appreciate the updates, though.
Nope, I don't have any.
Oh, Ashley can talk about her almost falling in the water at the wetlands.
No, I got stuck.
She got stuck in the mud, and it was kind of the funniest thing because she just slowly fell over.
I don't hear Ashley laughing.
It was not fun. Because you can't stop yourself. You just.
I know.
Did somebody have a camera?
No.
No.
Pictures or it did nothing.
It's better than when she fell on the river, though. At least you didn't get wet this one, right? You just got wet.
Yeah, just my jacket sleeves. I had to wash because they smelled bad.
Okay, so our next meeting is scheduled for November 5th, and Kathy and I are going to be great this next time, and we're going to get you the meeting minutes and the agenda posted on time.
Oh. Well,
Okay.
thanks for all the hard work.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, thanks. On to my next meeting.